Hope.
And welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to talk about something that has really taken over like pop culture this past week, and that is the Framing Britney documentary that came out with FX and Hulu, and the New York Times produced it. And we're going to talk about how we feel about the documentary and just the Free Britney movement as a whole. It's something that we are very, used to because we grew up, we were like in middle school when all this started happening. And yeah, so we're going to talk about it because we think it's really important. Yeah. So Hope, what did you think of the documentary as a whole?
I thought the documentary was great. One of the big key takeaways was just how Britney was treated in the media and by the paparazzi. The poor girl just wanted to be left alone. The whole situation that she was just dealing with in general is she just wanted to be left alone, and nobody would leave her alone. She couldn't go anywhere without people following her. And even the whole she shaved her head moment, that was just put on camera for the whole world to see, and it was really just her not caring anymore. She was like, okay, bye.
Yeah, I think that because I was such a big Britney Spears fan and still am one. I mean, I don't know a single single that she put out that was trash. She put out bop after bop.
Toxic, Baby One More Time, all of it.
Yeah. So for me, I loved her music. I loved her as a person. She was very anti-racist. She was pretty much unproblematic except for the whole Kevin Federline and him already having a baby mother type thing. Besides that, I think that she was pretty much unproblematic in my eyes. I mean, everything she did just kind of had something to do with her. She wasn't harming anyone else, in my opinion. And so in the documentary, it highlights her from her young age and then her becoming famous. And it's interesting because I went through a phase a few years ago where I started watching the Mickey Mouse Club from the beginning, 1950s to now. And I remember when I got to the one from the 90s and it had Ryan Gosling and JC Chasez, Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, all of them were on it together. And I remember seeing her talent and being I think that she could go somewhere. And I think her parents knew too, but after that ended, she really didn't take off the way they wanted to. And you could definitely see that her parents were banking on the fact that she had talent and that they could become rich from it.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of celebrities have downfalls because their parents put too much pressure on them because they don't want to work themselves. I mean, we saw it happen with Lindsay Lohan. Yeah. Happened with Britney Spears.
Well, what was wild was her parents were just sending her to New York with a chaperone.
Well, people do that because, I mean, I've seen people do that because they don't want to uproot their entire family and move. But them doing that, I don't think that it mattered in the sense because it wasn't they were really working or doing much. Yeah. They didn't have a lot going on. And maybe because they just they couldn't afford to send their other two kids along with them. But the crazy part is for me is if you skip forward to this whole conservatorship, is it's wild because even if she was going crazy and she was spending the whole conservatorship had nothing to do with her well-being of just taking care of her. It was all about them saying that her money, she couldn't take care of her own money. And if I'm rich and I'm going crazy and I'm spending my money, I can do that because I earned it. It's my money.
Yeah.
Who are you to tell me that I can't swindle all of my money? I can do it because it's mine and I work for it. You didn't get on stage and sing and ruin your vocal cords.
Yeah.
Put on this baby voice. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So her dad, and I love that they highlighted the fact that he was an absent father. He really wasn't there. So who are you to come in at the last minute and be oh no, I'm going to take care of your finances. And now I'm really glad that the judge just recently, I think it was a few days ago, announced that he tried to get more money or try to be in control of her investments. And she said no. Yeah. And she even said it was the conservatorship isn't even that bad. It was that she wanted to put a bank in charge of her finances. Jamie Spears is not a financier. He does not work for Goldman Sachs. He's not an analyst. He does not work on Wall Street. I don't even know if that man has a degree. He knows nothing about finances.
What did he do?
I don't know what he did, but
yeah, that's the whole thing.
They were poor, so it's not he was doing something that was really helping them out.
So I don't understand how he became.
I don't even know if that man worked the cash register at Walmart. I don't know how he knows anything about handling money, but I do know that I think that he's mismanaging it because they said that Britney Spears was worth $60 million when what they highlighted, and I know taxes are a thing, but the way that they highlighted how much money she was making, she did that the Vegas residency for 5 years. They said that she was having about $1 million put into her bank account every week. All right, so there's 52 weeks in a year, 52 times 5, $60 million. Even if you were paying half, like, it still doesn't make any sense. Like, even if 50% of all of your money was going to taxes, it didn't make sense. And that's not including all of the money that she still makes from her past, from Mickey Mouse Club, if they were ever to, royalties for that. If she has a master's, which she does for most of her music and writing credits that she has, and also producing, money that she would have from that. Also, royalties, the money that she would have made when she was on X Factor as a judge, any money that she would have made from royalties from like Crossroads or any other movies or anything that she was in. Like, this woman has money. And for them to say that she only has $60 million worries me, because I think that they have been using her money.
And where's all the money?
Yeah, and it was also crazy to me because it was like talking about like the whole conservatorship, like lawsuits. Whenever they try to go back to court, it bleeds her even more because like
she got to pay both sides.
Yeah, so they're taking her money to pay for the lawyers for themselves, and then she's paying for her own lawyers that are going to be representing her.
She has to pay for both.
So she's paying for everything. And it was like, and the fact that they wanted to make it into a business and say that like the conservatorship was like a business now because it was bringing in so much money should have been enough for people to say, hey, look, I don't think they're doing this at the best interest of her, but they're doing it at the best interest of themselves. Mm-hmm. And I also think that it is very funny how whenever she says she wants to be taken out of the conservatorship, she goes into rehab, or we don't hear from her for months, and then it seems like her mental state has just depleted so much with like, I will never get over it. And I told Hope, I showed her the video. When she's on Instagram, she had like the rose and she was like, it's soap. It's not a real rose. It's soap. And she sounded like a 5-year-old. Yeah. Like, her mental state is not the same to when she was on X Factor, even a few years ago. Yeah. I worry greatly.
Or when she burned down her gym.
Yeah, when she accidentally burned down her gym. I don't know what happened. But like, the fact that this woman can't even go to McDonald's and get a large fry without asking for permission tells me this woman is nearly 40 years old. Mm-hmm. She's going to be 40 years old this year. This woman should be able to be in charge of her own life and her own finances. She has lost her children. Kevin Federline, who's a deadbeat, is using the money. I know he's using the money that he keeps asking for more. That's draining her. Mm-hmm. You know, he asked for more money to take care of the kids, but I know he's using it to take care of his other kids too. You know, it's just so much. And you're just like, I want so much more for this woman. And I feel like she was unproblematic in the sense of like, I feel like she didn't do as much as so many other people. And the way that the paparazzi hounded her was just gross.
Yeah. Absolutely gross. And not even just the paparazzi, just comedy, late night comedy TV hosts. I remember Craig Ferguson, who I absolutely love. I've always loved Craig Ferguson. His monologue for Britney Spears came back and like was starting to trend again, because he was literally like, y'all need to like put the cameras down, like literally put the cameras down, because she needs help. And what was kind of crazy for him was her whole shave her head off week was the same weekend that he was 15 years sober, and he was just sitting here like, wow, like she's literally where I was 15 years ago and nobody is helping her.
And the thing is too, I don't think it was drugs or alcohol. I just think she was sick of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that so many times we try to label people as crazy for doing things that I think anybody would do as an act of rebellion. Because, like, she was known as this girl next door, like, with this pretty blonde hair white woman, you know, beauty standard of America. Mm-hmm. And then she dyed her hair black, and then she shaved it all off. It was control. It was power. It was like, you can't control me right now because I'm taking control of how I look. Yeah, she beat in the paparazzi's car with the umbrella, but look at the way they were chasing her down. Yeah. I mean, think about it. If you are a normal person and someone was flashing lights in front of you, following you into restaurants, and I put the blame on the people in the restaurants too, because maybe you thought that like if they snapped a picture of your restaurant that you were going to get notoriety or something. Yeah. But no, I would have been like, this is private property, get out of here with that mess. Yeah. You need to stand 10 feet back, get on the sidewalk, because this is my property right now. I would not have allowed that in my establishment. We have allowed capitalism and money hungry people to negate the fact that celebrities are still people. I don't see a celebrity as someone who is so much better than me because they act in movies. They just have a different frame, like a different form of work than I do. Yeah. You know, these are still people. And I think that as individuals, we have become so entranced with celebrity culture in Hollywood that we have allowed ourselves to exalt these people as if they're gods. And they're not. They're just normal people. And they should be treated like normal people. And normal people deserve privacy. I am not entitled to know what Britney Spears is doing in her life. I'm not. as a fan of someone, and I have been a fan of people, and like in my time, I think the only people who I was like really fans with like that was like the Jonas Brothers, and I had like the magazines that had the stuff, but like I was not entitled to know anything about their lives that they did not want me to know, because even though you are someone in the public eye, you are still entitled and allotted to a certain amount of privacy, and I think that anyone would want that. Like there are celebrities that you see them like get, photographed, but you don't see it the way that it was for her. And I don't think her family protected her, and I don't think she had very many people in her corner who were helping her out. Her sister, I remember like her finding out her sister was pregnant because a paparazzi person told her. Yeah. I remember that. And the look on her face, she just looked so heartbroken because she was like, why didn't I know that?
Yeah.
I think that was a part of her like decline. The fact that her parents allowed this stuff to happen without stepping in and being like, oh my God, like you may need help. Not help in the sense of she may be on drugs or alcohol, but the fact that she needed support. Yeah. There is a vast difference between young celebrities or like young Hollywood, child actors, singers, whatever, models who have parents who look out for their well-being, and those who have parents who are just using them for money.
Well, you can see Beyonce.
Yeah, I feel like Beyonce, her dad was her manager, but she had a very strong family. The group had, they could depend on each other. She had friends. She had people who were looking out for her well-being. Britney Spears did not have that. And I'll even go in to say who I think is like that right now is Millie Bobby Brown. She looks so much older than she really is because I think her parents are using her as a meal ticket. Now, that may not be true, but the way that this girl constantly works and doesn't have time for herself really shows me that they are not caring about her well-being or the things she wants to do. Because they will let you go out there half naked, they'll let you do all these roles, and they'll let you do all this stuff. And I remember when like the whole Black Lives Matter thing happened, she was saying her parents wouldn't let her say anything about it because they didn't want that to happen to her image.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? You're on a show about demons pretty much. Like you're not really, for me, it just doesn't make sense. And so you see a difference in the way that some people are raised, and you see the outcome. Like people like Hilary Duff and like Raven Simone, who are like child stars who really grew up and are okay, Mandy Moore was famous, but she wasn't that famous. Like she did a Walk to Remember and she had songs in the beginning.
I always knew Mandy Moore.
I knew who she was, but she wasn't big.
Christina Aguilera,
yeah, but Christina Aguilera did a lot of stuff too, but it was overshadowed by Britney Spears. Like she did a lot of rebellious stuff, but she was also grown, but she still understood like what, and I'm gonna say this, Christina Aguilera had a lot more talent, and so even if she did all those things, she was still very talented. Britney Spears is talented and she could dance, but she didn't have the vocal ability that someone like Christina Aguilera, who could go out for Whitney Houston and do all these other things. Like there are people who are multifaceted when it comes to their talents, and unfortunately, I feel like Britney Spears was stifled within her talent, and I feel like she could have grown to be an even bigger artist if she hadn't been like pigeonholed into that all-American girl, like baby voice type crap. Like I think that if she was allowed to be the artist that she wants, her entire artistry, everything that she was manufactured by her record label, like Jive Records. She did not get to be her own person. And then when she was old enough to be her own person, people didn't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, she was ridiculed for everything that she did. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you had people like Lindsay Lohan, who, went straight off the rocker because she had two incompetent parents who bled her out of her money and used her for fame and fortune ever since she was a little kid. And you see it. You see the difference in how certain people grow up and how they navigate through fame. And I think that she constantly had people around her who didn't care. We can talk about Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake has been trashed forever. Yeah. Now, I have to say that, like, I listened to his music and I didn't really pay attention to like the whole Crimea River thing and like that they cheated. I know that they broke up, and I know that she has even, when his last album came out, she even said, she did like a dance.
Yeah, she did a dance for it, and he'd like commented.
Yeah, and so I think that it was okay. But like even after the whole Janet Jackson thing, I think people were like, oh well, all of that happened. But then he kind of stepped away from music for a while, and then he came back with like the whole suit and tie era. But then when he performed at the Super Bowl again, I kept thinking that maybe he would bring Janet Jackson out as like a form of like redemption, but he didn't do it. And she was still blackballed from the Super Bowl, and like she can't perform there ever. And I know that a few days ago he came out with an apology, and he said it as like he was doing this and almost as if he didn't have a say. And okay, maybe that's fine when like him and Britney were first dating, but this is like a 25-year-old man at this point who was like at the point of when he was still talking about the stuff that happened with Janet Jackson, and he did not take accountability for his actions. You know, if anything, Justin Timberlake, he had that like crossover appeal. I understand it, but he was not as great of a singer as JC Chasez. Till this day, I will say that he was done dirty out of NSYNC. And don't get me wrong, these people are filthy rich. They have so much money. They don't have to work anymore. But JC Chasez is such a good singer. And the last thing I saw from JC Chasez working was when he was a judge on America's Best Dance Crew. And I remember seeing him on that and wondering who he was and why he looked familiar. And it was because he was in NSYNC. And it was so sad because it was like, okay, you're judging dancers. You know, when you were a dancer, yes, but you were such a talented singer, and he deserves so much more. I hate that when you have musical groups, there's like, you know, they say like the Beyonce of the group. Like there's only one person who can stand out on their own. And I don't think that's fair. There are so many singers out there. Why can't we all have a place? Mm-hmm. Record companies pull certain people up like they did with Camila Cabello and her racist behind, you know, at the expense of all the other people who had Fifth Harmony, who in my opinion were way more talented than she was, because for singing, dancing, and everything. And you see what happened, you know, and sometimes I think that they sometimes prop up the most problematic of people, but that's for a different day. I just feel as though this woman needed so much more.
Yeah. What do you think about Diane Sawyer and her
well, first of all, I even told you this. I was like, why is she coming after him? Like Justin was her man or something. Like, or like that was her son and she like put a hit out on him or something. Like the way that woman acted, and I understand it's journalists and they always kind of...
But it wasn't necessary. And the other piece too was the way she framed the question immediately put Britney in the wrong.
Yeah, but that's how things happen. Like when it comes to men and men doing things, they made it seem like this was so one-sided. Like we don't even know if anyone cheated on anyone.
They probably just broke up.
Yeah, but like I don't know what happened, and I don't care, because, you know, what's that got to do with the price of tea in China? Like, we have nothing to do with that. When that was happening, I was in probably like 4th or 5th grade, and like, yeah, they broke up, but like my day still went on. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, people break up and things happen. And I think because of that, she tried to seek someone who wasn't really in the limelight. And I think she was looking for love in other places. That's why she had that one marriage that lasted about 3 days. And then she married Kevin Federline, who, you know, always get a prenup, ladies. Because if you're not going to marry up, then you need to get a prenup. Because this is ridiculous. I'm not paying no man's bills. It's crazy to me. It's crazy. Mary J. Blige happened to her, too. I'm not with that. You know, and so she divorced him, and now, you know, she lost custody of her kids. It was just so much stuff that happened. They called her a bad mother. For what? You know, it doesn't matter if you're a stripper, if you're a singer, whatever you are. That doesn't make you a bad mom. There are people who hold regular jobs day to day, and they're bad parents. How many times have you seen someone beating their kid or leaving their kid in the car or doing something, you know, just out of pocket with...
Right around in Walmart.
Yeah.
No supervision.
Yeah, you know, how many times have you seen people who are just terrible parents, and that's not to like mom shame or anyone. Like, there are people who are bad parents. There are people who are bad parents. And they're just regular everyday people. So to put that on someone that you don't even know, you don't know how happy her children are, you don't know her home life, I think is just absolutely ridiculous to me. We have to stop with this judgment of people that we don't even know. We have to.
Do you think she'll be able to get out of the conservatorship?
I don't think so. I think her mental state is crazy right now. And I think her boyfriend or handlers or whatever they have going on have drained her so much emotionally and physically that I think that she doesn't mind saying. They said that they have never had a conservatorship that has ever been ended. Mostly because it's usually for elderly people who were in their right state of mind and then they died. Yeah. So now you're trying to overturn a conservatorship, but it's like they say that she's like she's a high functioning, like, what did they say? They were like, she's high functioning but still needs help. And someone was like, how are you high functioning and you still need help?
Like, how can you go to work and like make millions of dollars and
still
need help?
Yeah, and it just doesn't make sense to me. So I think if they put a bank in charge of her money, that was all they need. But like, they give her a certain allotment of money and everything, and I just don't agree with that. Like, I just think that all of this needs to end, and she needs to be able to do whatever she wants. If she's crazy, she's crazy. She's allowed to have her money.
She wants a jet plane, all sorts of stuff.
If she wants to do that, she can. It is her prerogative, and it is up for her to do whatever she wants to do. It is not my place as a random person on the street or as anyone or even as a judge to make the discernment about her. It's not my place. I don't think it's anyone's place. If she wants to go and buy 1,000 flowers every day and spend all her money on flowers and have them around her house, she can do that. You want to know why? Because she's the person who was writing the music, getting on stage, dancing and singing, you know, wearing herself out day after day, doing residencies and going on tours to make that money. And what she does with that money is her business. It's not my place. I may not buy it, but I see people buy stuff all the time that I wouldn't buy. I see stuff in the store and I'm like, who would buy that? But obviously it's in the store, so someone's buying it. It is not my place to tell people what they can and cannot do. It's not. And someone said it. I don't think that this would have happened to a man.
Oh, yeah. Definitely not.
No, because no one ever tells men what they can and cannot do.
Yeah.
There are so many men who have had high-profile scandals, drug offenses, all this stuff.
I mean, Robert Downey Jr., your favorite.
The reformed crackhead. He literally has had a full turnaround in his career. No one talks about how he spiraled in the 90s and early 2000s. No one talks about that. And if anything, these people should have been put under a conservatorship because we were like, they were going to be using this money to buy drugs. And no one said that.
No.
You know,
he did go to jail.
He did go to jail because he was supposed to, and he should have. But he still went to jail for less time than black people do for little ounces of marijuana, and he still has a lucrative career. I mean, Disney hired this man to be Iron Man.
He made billions of dollars.
How many black people do we know who did drugs or how their name was demeaned in the media, no matter how talented they were? I remember when Whitney Houston died, they were like talking so bad about her, like she was this, she was that, but she was one of the most talented people of a lifetime. You know, in history, really. One of the top selling, vocalists. And they still talked about her like she was a dog. And I know very lesser known mediocre white people who are still allowed to go out through their day-to-day activities and act like none of this has happened. I think that Free Britney needs to happen. She needs to be able to live her own life. This is a grown woman, almost 40-year-old woman, and we have to stop this. Justin Timberlake can continue to kick rocks. I'm not watching this Apple TV movie that just came out because it looks boring. I have not listened to any of his recent music because it's boring, and I know he's trying to get back into the good graces of black people by coming out with an album and, doing that song with SZA for the new Trolls. He is really trying to get back into his R&B vibe. No, we're done with you. We can find someone else. We can bring back Robin Thicke. So Justin Timberlake, I think he'll be able to do okay because people are still buying his music. I mean, people still buy R. Kelly's music. So obviously, it doesn't matter what men do, that people are still going to support them and make excuses for them. I think that he owes Janet Jackson an in-person apology, and he needs to be bargaining for her to be able to come back to the Super Bowl, which he should have did the last time he performed with that terrible performance he did with that camo suit and that no one wanted to watch. I have not seen a good Super Bowl performance really since Beyonce of 2013. So until someone brings me something to that caliber, I do not care. I still
watched it though.
I do watch it in hopes it would be better, and it's still trash. Yeah. But I just feel as though we really need to look at this and understand how we treat women in the media. And I think this also goes to show, too, the notoriety that Britney Spears is getting right now is very much about her privileged self, because I think that there have been a lot of, black entertainers who have been dogged out. At least she could still work. Mm-hmm. I think that there's a lot of people who have had so much worse, and I think that it really brings into perspective how women are treated within Hollywood. And you have to be very careful. If you do want to be someone in the entertainment industry, you have to be very careful with the company that you keep, and that includes your family as well. So, and even if you are a child and you can't do anything about it, when you get older, you need to make sure that you're taking the proper precautions to make sure everything is in your name, that there's a bank in charge of your finances, and that no one that you cannot trust is going to be in charge of your funds. Yeah. So that's what we had to say about the Free Britney movement. I think that as time goes on, more stuff, I think she has another conservatorship hearing coming up soon. Yeah. So we may even come back on here and give an update. Part 2. Yeah, so that's what we have to say about Free Britney. I will always be #Free Britney. I am a Britney Spears stan. And I hope the best for her, and I hope that she gains happiness and that she's doing okay. Yep. All right. Bye, guys. Bye.